Welcome back. My name is Dr. George Mochocki, and this is Management 291, Strategic Management, and we're going to be covering Chapter 10. Ethics, Business Ethics. I got Business Ethics twice. No wonder, I made a mistake here. Excuse me. I'm live, so let me just make the correction. Okay, makes it a little easier. Business Ethics, Social Responsibility, and Environmental Sustainability. Strategic plan. Should a company be social responsible? Questions you read out of the chapter. Should a company be environmental sustainable, helping the environment and minimize environmental footprint? This should be in, that's what your reading's about. What about business ethics? Are business individuals ethical? Are politicians ethical? Are your staff ethical? Are your employees ethical? Big question to answer. Strategically, how do I at least bring the culture within my company more to an ethical standard or a norm that's acceptable for my clients, my customers, all my stakeholders that interact with this organization? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so you can take me online, blended class or face to face. This is supplemental. Make sure you read the book. The author has an excellent YouTube's, well written book. This is just a supplemental quick overview. As a refresher, sometimes an introduction, however you want to look at it, and as a refresher, what you should have learned out of this. So let's get on with our lecture. I'm going to try to keep it on either half an hour, 40 minutes to the latest. Chick-fil-A, an exclamatory company case, looks at social responsibility, ethics, everything else, all the values of the owners and also the values of the individual. One thing you have to understand, and I'll leave it at that, because there's some questions about some of the religious background of the owners. They may be very religious and not accepting a certain lifestyle, but do they take that also and put that into their business model? And most likely not, because I might have my own personal lifestyle, but my business follows the laws and the rules of the country that I'm operating in. Most businesses usually follow that pattern. Okay, unless it's completely against their moral values. That's what ethics is. What's ethics? Is it legal or is it ethical? Abortion, is it legal or is it unethical? It's legal in the U.S., but some people may consider that unethical. Whether I'm a pro-life, other people say it's my body, I can do what I want. I'm not taking a stand, but you see what I'm talking about? So when you're looking at ethics and in business, a lot of times if it's illegal, it's already not an ethical issue. You broke the law. And remember, a lot of our values, our laws are created by our moral values, or our ethical beliefs as a society, and it just transfers over to the culture as a whole. When I was watching some X-rated movies, man, I couldn't even see any kind of kissing or real close hugging. Ooh, X-rated nowadays, my goodness! You look at X-rated, geez, I think I'm in. I'll leave it at that. But cultures change. What's the values? What's the morals are changed, and businesses also are following. Because a lot of businesses will do everything else exactly what's legal, but it may not be ethical. Legally, you can get away with it, and that's where marketing and a company's reputation comes into play. So let's look at this. Okay, so let's look at comprehensive strategical model. So if I'm looking at this model, remember this is the way we're following along. We went through all these chapters. Now we're on chapter 10, which is business ethics. If I'm doing any kind of changes, restructuring, reorganization, redoing something with everything that we've learned in it, because external, internal factors, I try to be as ethical as I can. My job is to sustain to make sure the company's profitable. The employees are taken care of. I treat them fairly. I don't do anything else to put them in harm's way, whether either with my processes or whatever. I try to maintain that to the best of my ability. And that's what a company put out, because I'm ethical. Or other ones say, it's bottom line profit, is disposable. That's not where you want to be at. Okay, so we're doing pretty good at that. Okay, now, what is, let me see where we're at. What is good ethics business? Hang on a second, let me just. Very good. All right. What is good business ethics? Why is good business ethics? Why is good ethics good for business? Jeez, not doing too good here, am I? All right. Okay, if I'm looking at this being ethical, because look, if you treat your employees fairly, they're going to treat their customers fairly. If you treat people outside, it's good business practice, because then they're going to say, hey, if I have a problem, he or she is an ethical business that they'll resolve my issue, they'll resolve my problem fairly. A give and take for both. But if I think you're a scammer or someone just going to take advantage of me, I don't have that kind of a loyalty to the brand that we've been, or to the organization as a whole. Okay, let's see. Establish ethical code of conduct. If I look at code of conduct, I have individuals from different. You've had other classes into the business. You've had other maybe management. Ethics always is intertwined with all the courses you're taking here at the community college or any classes because it has to be ethical. And some companies are not ethical. They get the bottom line, they're out of there because they're the owners and they just want to make the fast buck and leave. Those companies don't survive long, or maybe they do survive long, but they do so much unethical things that the employees they hire are ready to lower scale of the moral value of humanity as a whole. Okay, but anyway, a code of conduct tells you, and when you're working for me, you should. Here's the code of conduct. I don't rip off customers. If we overcharge them, we give them their money back. If a customer has a legitimate complaint, I give them the money back. My employees, I pay them fairly. I don't rip them off. All these are ethical standards. So not only for my employees internally, they know what the rules of the games are working for this organization, similar to what the rules, my suppliers, my customers, my bank, anyone who touches me, my stakeholders, understands where this organization is, their values, for lack of better words, are at. They know what the legal ones. Here's the law. I got to follow the law. What goes beyond and above. Okay. Now, 7 principles of admirable business ethics, and basically be trustworthy, open-minded, look at other people's in different ways, honor commitments and obligation. Number 1, if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If it wasn't your mistake and I said I was going to do it, I try to make it whole. Okay. Do not misrepresent, exaggerate, or mislead. Marketing, I'm on a fine line in there. Be visibly responsible community citizen. Those that we hire or we sell to, that we are basically helping that community overall because we're providing a service or product that makes the community better or increases the value of the community or quality of life within that community. Utilize your accounting practice to questionable activities. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule transfers almost every religion, everything. If you treat me fairly, I'll treat you fairly back. All right, it's not for an eye for an eye, but let's look at this one. This is the one they usually utilize most of the books. Okay, now social responsibility. Now here's where there's a lot of question. Should I, as a company, be socially responsible? Should I give back to the community that buys my product? There's 2 different things of looking at that. One is basically social responsibility, is actions a company does to give back to the community. Some say I'm a profit center, I'm not charitable, I'm not a charitable organization, why should I give? My job is to treat the customers fairly, ethically, but I don't have to give back to the community. Sometimes when you look at this, there's that gray area. When I give back to the community, I help those children there. I help an orphanage. I help whatever, the pet centers or lost dogs or cats, whatever the problem is. I'm helping them out to be humane and everything else. I write that also off as a charity. I could also write that off as a promotional expense. I get goodwill coming back for that. Makes me seem like I'm not such a harsh corporate person. I have feelings, and I have people from these other targets, because I know they have a lot of cat lovers, a lot of pet lovers in my area. They'll come and they'll say, I kind of like this business over this one because he helps back and gives back to the pets or whatever. So it does make sense to give back. It's good business practice. And there's a way you could also do accounting and see that the numbers work in your favor, because there's different ways you could claim that expense going forward. It helps everyone, okay? That's my thought. But, if you're losing money and your company's barely surviving and you're just hanging on for every expense, usually your social responsibility or charitable offerings are the first thing that gets cut. You're trying to survive the business. Your customers and everything else should be able to see that. That's not you, but you have to make those sacrifices, for lack of better words, to maintain the business going forward. Okay? Design, articulate social policy, social policies on retirement. So you basically put everything back. What's my social responsibility? I help out here as much as I can. I'm a social responsible corporate citizen. Good name, good at PR. It makes good for business. Okay, environmentally sustainable. That's what we're going for. Firms are the best stewards, and had a page that listed all of them. You have this too, ISO 14,000 and 14,001. If you look at ISO 9000, that basically was for quality to make sure. All this is a process is to say that we're environmentally safe. We give back to the environment. We use as much recyclable as we can. We try to minimize our costs. There was an article I was looking at, the college I was looking at. They said that every email you sent basically kills a branch of a tree because of the energy utilized for the cooling and transferring from data to data. So you're not really, I mean, you're looking at it. Well, I don't have the paper, I'm having it electronically, but you see the cooling centers, electronic, and everything else, the charging, electricity. Somebody calculated that, so it's kind of interesting. Are you just deferring it? So try to be a good social steward of what you have and utilize it properly. Okay, so that's what the 9,000. So the 14,000 basically looks at certification. So extent organizations. Operate. Let me make this just a little bit bigger. I keep on forgetting. 200. I'll bring it back down. There we go. That's even easier for me with my glasses. Action protected. So, everyone in the company believes that we do recycling, we give back to the community, we don't waste more than we have to. Employees, consumers, society are especially resentful to firms that harm rather than protect. Controversially, people today, okay, the sustainability report, just say here how much we've given recycled back. Waste Management basically now is the largest recycling organization. They're not a garbage collecting or waste management. We're the recycling of the world, for lack of a better word. And it's a good thing to give back. They try to recycle as much as they can. Some of the stuff you can't be recyclable, but the majority of the stuff they try to at least reduce some of the footprints. Okay, results in environmental management systems, EMS, show commitments to prevention of pollution, right? Always trying to improve on it, identifying all aspects of activities, products, services that I could basically minimize the impact on the environment, meet performance objectives. Every department, you gotta, it's gonna be kind of your reward for them to be environmental. How much did you save environmentally? You still have the mission, but you still want to be socially responsible and giving back to the economy. And a lot of times your employees, you could get there real quickly, so they'll start being very environmental and try to find savings not only in energy, in products and substance, and minimize the waste and an environmental footprint out there. All right. And that's the culture, establishing work instruction, best practices, don't waste, conduct audit operations of environmentally management systems, and take corrective actions as needed. Okay, we're going a little bit, okay, I got a little bit more. Okay, now when you look at ethics and everything else, whistleblowing. Whistleblowing is a procedure that tells someone within the organization a way to tell the higher ups that something's going on, something illegal, some activity that is not beneficial to the stakeholders and the stockholders, for lack of better words. Most whistleblowers, this is just on here, you're protected by the law. But what happens with a lot of whistleblowers, when they blow, are they disgruntled employees? Are they this? You should at least try to bring it up to the next level of management. And then, if nothing else, then you could, unless management is the corruption, usually that's the case, then you do the whistleblowing. But what happens when the whistleblower is protected, if he or she is actually telling the truth, they should not be fined or anything else. What happens is people don't support the whistleblower because we all have stuff in our closet, for lack of better words, other than clothing. And did he turn him in? That nice old George? Or are you going to turn me in? Nice salary or whatever. Do you see what I mean? So you should be supportive of whistleblowers. The company, it should be a way that you could blow. You got your code of conduct we're going to talk about. Part of ethics and everything else, and that basically tells here's the rules. And what happens? You have a lot of people from different cultures. If they turn their neighbors in from the old culture, they never saw them again. This is the government. I'm not saying something in the Middle East or some parts of Africa. I'm just throwing those out. Come on, class. Don't say Dr. George. It's just reality. Okay. So now they're in your culture here, and you say turn somebody in. Last time I turned in my neighbor, Haven't seen him or her for a long time. So is it the same? They don't trust the police. They don't trust the authorities because they were corrupt from the countries that they came in here. So you don't already have that. So how are you going to come around there to help it? Your systems and everything else. You should have enough out there where you could find out your own internally, but still have a process where people could call in or drop something off and have an in-between individual that will look at that and take any kind of corrective action and protect the innocent if they want to keep anonymous on there. But you have to be careful because remember, somebody may just not like George, and because I gave him or her a bad grade or a bad report, and they're doing a falsifying information to make me look bad, and it's on my record. So there's that fine tune. You still have until you're proven guilty, you're innocent until proven guilty. That same kind of be ethical and socially responsible should be extended not only to the colleges for instructors and students, but also in the work environment. You should have the same benefit of the doubt. And we should, and not go into public opinion saying he did this, and then at the end you found out they were innocent. They just were saps, didn't know what the heck was going on, country bumpkins, nothing derogatory. They're just very naive or very trustworthy. And if you come to some people who think you're too naive, not trustworthy, they'll take advantage of you because you just trust them. Oh, just sign here. Don't worry. It's a regular contract. Don't read all this fine print, 50 pages. You give away everything. Okay? All right. So now, the next thing you have is ethics training. How do you make sure you're individual? Remember, because ethics is learned, my moral values is learned by my peer pressure, from high school, from family members, different businesses. And now you're working for me. I'm a very ethical type of business, and I want to treat everyone fairly. So you have ethics training, and it got to come from the top up. Not what I say is what I do. I see the manager say, "Hey, we treat all customers right," and I tell them, "I'll rip this person up." Remember, you have to look not just by what you're saying, is by your actions is what you're looking at, because we're looking at what he or she says. My mouth's moving, but my actions are completely differently. Okay, social ethical practices, I pay them fairly so they don't rip me off. I don't rip off customers. I make sure I look at the billing. I have all my quality. If there's errors, I give back. I admit my mistakes. If the organization, if we did something wrong, I take the hit, but basically it works out well. Okay, bribery is basically giving, giving, receiving, soliciting, any kind of influence for me to do something that may bend the laws or the rules a little bit to your favor as a supplier, customer, or something else. I'm not talking about if I messed up something else and I'm trying to make it better because my delivery team dropped your refrigerator 20 floors and you have to wait 2 weeks. So now I'm giving you a whole refrigerator and I'm throwing in an air conditioner saying, "Hey, I'm really sorry. Please, it wasn't. I understand it's not your fault. You've been very a little different." Just him. Mine is I want the whole contract. I'm going to send me out to vacation, my whole family, treat me like a king, and give me all this extra money, gifts, and everything else underneath the table, and I sign up a poor contract towards the company or buy some inferior supplies or products or components, and now the customer suffers. Okay, so that's bribery. Gifts and everything else, including it just happens. And in some countries, it's part of culture. When anything done, you got to grease their palms. So don't look at them here. It sounds illegal. So you should turn that person into your ethics officer or to your whoever within an organization, or then report him or her. A lot of people just think it's part of business, but remember, some cultures, that's just how they do business. You go to Russia or something. I'm just using it as an example. Please, I'm Russian and all out. In the U.S., is not the most purest country in the world, but you had to pay something underneath there to get your product done. Otherwise, you wait forever. Okay. But just be aware of that. Okay, favoritism, complaints. Okay, workplace romance. When that bug bites, you're in love. You gotta watch it, especially as a manager. You saw favoritism. Records could be bleached. You could use that against the manager going forward. Whispering secrets tend to tension between individuals. Sexual harassment charges makes the company looks bad. So you try to minimize that romance. You have policies, no romance. Things happen, you see it. So I go. Sometimes I see two instructors, adults consenting, nothing out there, and they fall in love. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna stop it? But you try to minimize that. Or if that person is there a small company, you try to split them apart, different departments, so one isn't seen as he's being favoritism to that one, or whatever. Easier said than done, but just be aware of it. That gives you a whole bunch of problems going forward, especially if you're a manager and you have a subordinate that you're in love, or and you may be truthfully, but it doesn't look good, and basically other employees saying, or then the relationship breaks, and now you harassed her, you did this, you coerced her, whatever. I mean, you try to keep your business and your social life separate, unless you're married and you're a business partner. Okay, remember your small medium business, different type of problems you have. You're with the person too long. And some people work out well. I mean, other people need that break. They go to their job, they go to my job, different friends, different things. That's how our relationships work. Other people need that connection. Yeah, it depends on the individual. Remember what works. Same thing with a company when you look at culture. Okay, so strategically, you have social responsibility. Ralph Nader, he basically says that proclaims organization have social responsibility obligation. Milton Friedman, basic economist, asserts have no obligations, just to be ethical and fair, and that my job is to make profit, is to the government, you pay your taxes, and a nonprofit organization, a church, and other social services that you support, if you want to support, that help those people. I'm a business, that's what my loyalty is to the business. Two different trains of thought, as I explained before. Due to social responsibility, you can write it off. Everything else, bottom line is, it reduces my taxes. Those who are doing your taxes, even your own personal taxes, what happens? All of a sudden, all your contributions, your charitable giving reduces your tax base. Now all of a sudden you're charitable. But I mean, you're still good, but you feel well. I'm a business person. I'm trying to find that balance, okay? Are we good? So social policy, concerns, environmentals, firms should engage in social economic things. Now this last one is wild welfare. Consumers are becoming increasingly intolerant of business that naturally destroy wildlife. Look, I'm not talking about one little frog or something else, and you can't have a massive project that will generate profitability for the area. I'm not that extremist. But I understand if you have something else, could you relocate? Could you do something to sustain wildlife so it's not all concrete? I grew up in the city, so okay, I'm used to it, but I like that outdoors now, okay? Whale, songbird. So make sure you have some minimal, but you have to look at the overall environment that you're working in. Okay, and food supplies, consumers expect humane treatment of animals. Consumers are flocking to organic products. I'll leave that at off because I'm not a vegetarian. So if and I was talking, I'll leave it at that. All right, we'll leave it at that. Now this is strategic management. So now what we covered a lot here. Remember how ethics and everything else, my personal things may be different than what I do when I'm working for the company. So look at your behavior and everything else. So your policies, follow the rules and everything else. You're ethical and you're socially responsible. It makes good business sense. Okay, so let me just expand this back to 1, and then I'll view this at 150. We should be okay. All right, so we covered everything else in here, a lot of information. And remember, this is chapter 10. I think we have one more chapter. And then the last recording I'll have is what's required for your final case. So now start building with the company you already identified for me a while back. You're using this strategically. Are you going to be socially responsible? How are you going to have any kind of policies for romance within there? And how are you going to bring ethical individuals? Remember, you had the people who have integrity. I try to find them. They're few and far between, but most people are very compliant and ethical because of compliance. I got the cameras, I got the rules, I want my job. Okay, you know what I mean? Instead of just taking advantage of the situation, so they keep them in check. That's society. So now how do I utilize what my external forces are, which are my employees that I'm hiring, and my culture, and how do I keep them on that straight and narrow path? All right. Again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki. This is Management 291, Strategic Management. We're at the last couple of chapters. We're in Chapter 10, Business Ethics, Social Responsibility, and Environmental Sustainability. And I'll see you. Strategically makes good sense for businesses, and we should be always focused on everything else. Then you have customers wanting our products, and then we feel good about our products and improves the value and why people would buy our products versus our competitors. Okay? All right, let's see how many minutes we have here. 24 minutes. I'm doing pretty good at this. I'm trying to just get into the overview instead of going step by step. You already had this in our lecture or our discussion board.